and welcome back to part 3 of the 2022 Greater Sacramento Area Masters. We have the final 6 bowlers still in contention to take down the title. I'm Kevin, here with Alex. Let's get right back into the action. Alright, here we are in round 7 where we have PJ Haggerty against Traco Holland. Now, if you watched parts 1 and 2, we already pretty much said everything we could about PJ. A man that needs no introduction, fresh off his victory in the PBA Regional West at the Earl Anthony Open last week. And if you follow the channel, you'll recognize Traco Holland, who won the 2022 Manteca Masters last month. So both guys been bowling very well as of late. Should be a pretty exciting match to watch. Now Traco, since we haven't really been able to talk about him much since this is his first time on the channel in this tournament, he qualified in 6th with a plus 208 and a 234.6 average, so he had a first round bye. In round 2, he shot 500 against Josh Chambliss, who shot 483. Round 3, defeated Aaron Prosperi 453 to 450, only a 3-pin win there. And in round 5, he defeated Lance Lopez 493 to 451. Now we saw Lance in round 3, who bowled against Tim Conklin. So Traco with 6 games on the day, averaging 241. Now I'm going to throw some more numbers at you and then I'll explain them in a second. PJ we saw in round 2 shoot 444. Round 3 he shot 496. Round 5 we saw him shoot 507 against Danny Liu. For a 6-game total of 1447. Traco through 6 games has a total of 1446. So pretty much evenly matched here, these two guys, with a 1-pin difference through 6 games on the day. Really, it's anybody's game at this point. No discernible advantage. Who's been bowling better on the day? It's pretty much been even. Traco opening up with a double to start his match. PJ leading the 10 pin here. He'll cover that nicely. Now you're going to see these guys kind of play straighter lines, but different parts of the lane. Now, as I mentioned in part 2, PJ you can almost say he's playing like a down and in type of shot, but 10 boards left of where you would expect a down and in type of shot to be. Playing a very extreme inside part of the lane, never really getting the ball out very far. Where you got Traco, who's going to be throwing a little bit harder, going more of a traditional type of down and in shot, going straighter up the boards and letting the ball do the work. Trying to get that one to do a little too much. Leaving the 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. One of those kind of spares where getting count also is going for it. And at least getting the 3, but there's no real way to get a count without going for that spare, so may as well, with that kind of situation, you may as well just go for it. But unfortunate open there for Traco. Traco very competitive. I expect this to be a much better shot. Yeah, a little light, leaving the 2-8. So again, these guys did get 2 minutes of practice on this pair before the scores counted. So maybe not a lot of time to figure out if these lanes were very different from their previous games. Traco coming off of they kind of had a left side and a right side bracket. So Traco coming off the right side bracket was bowling more on the higher end of the house. I believe lanes somewhere between 20 and 32, somewhere in there. So I believe this might be his first game on this end of the house. I don't know if maybe the lanes played a little differently. And PJ just, chipping the 2-pin. But yeah, I kind of walked around every once in a while, but I mean, it's hard to tell if the lanes were any different on either end of the house. And as I mentioned before, Alex and I were unable to bowl this tournament, so we don't really know how the lanes started, how they broke down, how the lanes played from one end of the house to the other. But we'll just have to see how this match plays out. And PJ getting a light strike there. Kind of a lucky double there for him. It didn't really look like either of those shots were all that great, but gets the double anyway. Good shot there for Draco. Big shot there. So making the correction, missing the head pin in the third frame, coming in light in the fourth frame, and then making the correction, getting back-to-back good shots in the pocket, fifth and sixth frame. And PJ coming in very light in the fourth frame on lane 10, tripping the 2-pin. Gets that ball a little wide also, but maybe it looks like these lanes have a little more friction than his previous matches, so he's able to get that one to come back. Gets a good strike there.
Now through 6, watching both competitors roll with their respective equipment. PJ Haggerty looks like he's gone back to his altered reality from the previous match. Actually, no, I lied. That one's... Oh, the original reality, excuse me. That one was the original reality. Probably a little bad off his hand, unfortunate 7-10 there. But going to the reality, maybe he saw something a little bit more down lane that he could use to get a ball to tip over. And Traco himself is actually in a 900 global Zen.
And now that we're seven rounds into this tournament, I'd have to say I saw a lot of pocket 7-10s. I'm not sure if it was the pattern or maybe just the way these pins fall, but it didn't really seem to matter, the angles that the ball was coming in at. A lot of different competitors throwing a lot of different lines, and you just seemed to see at least one or two a match. Just kind of a weird anomaly maybe in this house. As I mentioned before in the other video, Alex and I are both kind of from the Stockton area, and so this bowling alley being about an hour and a half drive up north for us, I haven't bowled in this house in a couple decades probably, so not really sure if that's something that's normal here, but certainly something to look out for. Draco getting a great double there after PJ getting the open. I feel like that's a sign of a really good competitor. When you see your opponent make a mistake, taking the advantage, and taking the opportunity to take advantage of the situation, and throwing some of the best shots when they have that opportunity to take a lead. And PJ coming in a little light again on lane 10. So I'm curious to see what he does on this lane. I mean, that's a good shot. Alex, in your opinion, if you leave a pocket 7-10, what do you do? Do you make an adjustment on that, or do you just kind of chalk it up as maybe it was a bad rack and try and throw the same shot again?
I've been on both sides of the spectrum, where sometimes for me I think it's the bowling ball, and I've made a ball change where I've been successful. And then at GSA Masters I've gone back-to-back 7-10 thinking it was the bowling ball, and in retrospect I was probably just a little bit off physically, as I tripped for there for Traco. So after I made a ball change, didn't have a good success with it, went back to the original bowling ball, and then proceeded to throw much better shots and get better results. Who knows? That's something I wish I could talk to people individually and kind of get their ideas on the 710. Of course, everyone's going to have a different opinion or different idea on how to approach an adjustment off of a 710.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny what you said. You went back to back 710s before you changed balls. I feel like if I leave one, it kind of just, I lose all confidence in that ball, and it may not even be the ball, or it may not even be the shot. It could just be something as pin was a little off spot that I couldn't see, and that could be the difference. But I know for me, if I leave a pocket 710, I lose pretty much all confidence in that ball, and I almost feel like I should make a ball change, regardless of how that ball has been doing for me thus far. And it's probably something I should, maybe not do, especially if the ball's been working for me. But it's just one of those things, that can just play tricks with your mind. And Traco taking more than an advantage of the opportunity from PJ's open in the 7th frame, getting now 7 in a row. And with a strike here, he's going to guarantee himself a lead going into the 2nd game. And coming in light, leaving the... Alright, 2-7 for 249. So if PJ can strike out, he can keep this match close, only a 4-pin difference. PJ certainly throwing good shots ever since the 3rd frame. He hasn't... Actually, I even believe the 2nd frame was in the pocket, so... Every shot in the pocket except for the 1st frame, unfortunately leaving the 710 in the 7th frame. But a big strike here for PJ. And another one. And that's on a different lane too. The other one was on lane 9. And this one certainly more in the pocket. The other, I believe lane 9 was a little bit light, but this one certainly more flush in the pocket and leaving another 710. And PJ, one of those guys that he'll give a 710 a scare. He throws it very hard, very straight, and he gets a lot of pin action out of the pit. Unfortunately, not that time. Getting another open in really the worst spot he could find one. Giving Traco a 38-pin lead going into the 2nd game. And I mentioned in part 2, in the eliminator bracket, there are 4 guys bowling a 1-game match where it's essentially a winner-take-all. The winner of that 4-way match is going to advance to the semifinals, and the loser of this match will meet that person, that competitor, in the semifinals also. The winner of this match will move on to the finals. So both of these guys guaranteed a podium finish. The winner of this match obviously guaranteed at worst a 2nd place. And the semifinals and finals are going to be 1-game matches also. And PJ kind of saying, what the heck, man? That was the same shot as before, but this one struck and the other one was a 710. And something to note also, the semifinals and finals, again, 1-game matches, they're going to be on the same pair of lanes. So I don't know if maybe as a competitor, if that's an advantage or a disadvantage to have one more game on a championship pair as opposed to the guy coming in the finals not having a look on that lane yet. We'll have to just see how that plays out later in this video. But PJ with a good double there, getting back 10 pins from Traco. Good shot. So Traco obviously lined up very well, getting a lot of strikes. PJ getting a lot of strikes too, but unfortunately both of those pocket 710s are pretty big blemish on his first game. But If anybody can put up a fight to come back, it's this man here. That looks left. Yeah, he knows off his hand. Leaving the 3, 6, 9, 10. One of those spares that's seems easy on paper, but it can be tricky to pick it up. Yeah, and taking the 3, 6, 9 out, leaving the 10, getting his third open of the match when he was already down a little bit. Just gonna give Traco even that much more of a lead. And as I mentioned before, Traco a very solid competitor too, and so you give him a big lead like that, it's just going to build his confidence, and it's going to make it that much tougher to get pins back from him. Good shot there for PJ. He's going to have an opportunity to sit down, regroup, gather his thoughts. And on the flip side, Traco an opportunity to extend his lead with a double here. Drifting a little high. Fortunately, just leaving the 3 pin. Didn't look like it was a bad shot. Maybe a little slow. Ball picked up a little early in the roll. And good cover there. Now, I'm sure Traco knows where he's at any point on the approach, but so many of his shots, I swore he was just gonna fall over the foul line. It just seemed like a lot of his shots, he either wasn't sliding as he expected to, just like that. It just kind of, he stands up to kind of put the brakes on, and it made me a little nervous watching him. I'm sure he wasn't feeling any of that. I'm sure he was fine. And again, just that kind of, oh, maybe that one did actually bother him a little bit. Taking the 2-4 off the 5, getting an open, kind of giving PJ maybe a little bit of a glimmer of hope.
And a real quick note, aside from the open from Traco with the 2-4-5, a bucket combination, and PJ's 3, 6, 9, 10, those are, again, mentioned in one of our previous matches, 2 of the very missable multi-pin spares. Is PJ just gets a blower 7 there. Again, all spares, just you got to try to convert them, got to try to figure them out, get the right angle. Again, just how much multi-pin spares can affect the matches in a sense.
Yeah, and PJ, being a very tough competitor, sees his opponent get an open and just drives him to get that strike even more, and throwing a great shot, leaving that, he's called a blower 7. Not much you can do. He threw the shot he needed to and just didn't get the result he expected. But gets the strike there. He's still able to pick up a few pins from Traco's open. But unfortunately, still Max scored down 1 more pin in this match, and 44 pins total for the whole match. I'm sorry, 39 pins for the whole match. And Traco gave himself a nice, comfortable lead, and it gave him the opportunity to make a couple mistakes that weren't going to cost him too much. But leaving a 4-6 there is going to really let PJ kind of right back into this. So now max score, Traco still has a 23-pin lead. But if he was able to convert the spares in the 5th and 6th frame, he would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 or 60-pin lead. And with only 4 frames left to go, 23 pins is a comfortable lead, but at this stage in the tournament, you would like it to be more if you can. And throwing a good shot there definitely will help him breathe a little easier after going back-to-back opens. And as I mentioned before, PJ being a very solid competitor, when he sees his opponent get an open, he's going to drive him to throw a good shot. So I expect this to be another great shot. Again, he has the 7-pin in the 10th frame, not really his fault. But at the end of the day, he needs the strike. again, great shot. Just what you would expect. And so far on this left lane, he's 3 for 3 in this game. So I expect this to be another great shot, and with a strike here, he'll make Traco at least fill the frames. It's not going to give him an opportunity to get another open and keep a lead. And throwing a good shot and just leaving a flat 10.
I'm curious on PJ's 7-10s and how this one, if maybe he's a little too inside out, got the ball a little left of target, and then the ball floated out a little bit too far right, so it kept finishing behind the head pin, and then finishing further behind the head pin in a sense, not getting the pins a chance to kind of knock down the 7, thus your 7-10.
Yeah, and kind of what you mentioned. Hard to tell. I mean, we can go back and watch the video again and maybe take a look, but you know, as it is, with PJ leaving that 10 pin, giving Traco an opportunity to leave a 10 pin also and not really lose any pins. So with 2 frames left to go, Traco with a 19 pin lead. So if he can stay clean, it's going to be pretty tough for PJ to come back. Great shot, getting the 7 pin to fall. And now he's going to get to sit back and see what PJ does. If PJ is unable to throw a good couple frames here, Traco might have a pretty easy walk into the finals. Good shot there. A little light. Now as it is, if PJ were to manage to strike out, he'll put him at 434. If Traco were to go spare strike in the 10th frame, it'll put him at 433. So I'm sure PJ knows the situation. He knows if he strikes out, he'll force Traco to get the first one in the 10th. Good shot there, which is huge, especially if you look back at Traco's last 3 frames on this lane, or sorry, yeah, the last 3 frames on the right lane. He has no strikes in the last 3. Sorry, if you look at the last 4 frames, he only has 1 strike. So PJ, knowing if he were to strike out, it affords him a reasonable expectation that it could be enough. Getting another one there. So obviously those last 3 strikes were important, but it all builds up to this one, which is probably the most important. With a strike here, it'll force Traco to get the first one in the 10th. Otherwise, PJ will move on to the finals, and Traco will move on to the semifinals. Bit inside. Didn't really like it off his hand. Gets the 4 to fall. So job well done for PJ. He's done all he can at this point. Now pressure squarely on Traco. Needs the first one in the 10th. If he doesn't get it, PJ is going to win this match. And just buries it. I wonder if Traco knew he only needed that one, because Traco's one of those guys, he keeps a very level head, but when he gets the shot he needs, he's kind of like a volcano. He just kind of erupts, and it's pretty entertaining to watch because you just don't know when it's going to happen. But as it is, all he's going to need is count here. That's fine. That'll do it. So Traco already at 441. He's going to move on to the finals, and PJ is going to move on to the semifinals against the winner of the Eliminator bracket. All right, and here we are in the semifinals. Again, PJ Haggerty, as if we haven't seen enough of him already. against Lance Lopez, who we saw in, I believe, round 3. So let me look at my notes here. So there was a 4-way, 1-game eliminator match that Lance won. He rolled a 229 and defeated Danny Liu, that shot 205, Robert Harmon 226, and Larry Wheeler 196. So Lance able to etch out Robert with a 3-pin victory. And it was kind of interesting watching that match. Lance could have struck out for 240, and the other 3 guys could all struck out for 226. And so it was a pretty close 3-way match, but Lance obviously with the advantage and ended up with the victory, affording himself a shot at the title still here in the semifinals. Now, as I mentioned a few times already, this is a 1-game match, and the finals will also be on this pair. So the winner of this match, you could arguably say, has the advantage over Traco, because they will already have bowled a game on this pair, and they'll kind of know what's going on. Traco will have 2 minutes of practice on this pair to kind of see for himself what the look is, and a great mixer strike there for Lance. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you think that the semifinals and the finals should be on the same pair?
Honestly, it's a first for me. I know most tournaments kind of alternate lanes. They would put you on one pair for a semi and then another for the finals. So for both being on the same, that would be up to the tournament director to make that call as PJ goes through the face, leaving a 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Again, that's new to me, and also too, this is my first time watching this tournament, kind of hearing some of the formats, some of the ways they're going as PJ picks off 3. I'm kind of open to new ideas for tournaments, so whether it's fair or not fair, it's just sometimes how the tournaments and the formats go.
Yeah, and I spoke to Daniel Ducoin that ran the tournament, and he kind of just explained, these tournaments can drag out for a very long time, and he kind of wanted to, and a great shot there for PJ, he kind of wanted to limit how much downtime there was. Is all these matches being 2-game matches, as you get towards the end, usually it's just 2 guys bowling where a couple of people are sitting around waiting for their match to start, and so he kind of wanted to have 1-game matches in the end. So for the title match, the winner of the main bracket that gets to the finals doesn't have to sit for too long for his opportunity to win the title. And so I kind of see it from both perspectives. The tournament for the most part was 2-game matches, and then now all of a sudden it's 1-game matches. But on the other side of the coin, it's basically they're locking up 40-something lanes for 2 guys to bowl. And so I kind of see it from both sides. I don't mind this style format. I think it's fine. I feel like if you are told ahead of time that's how the tournament is going to be decided, then it's all fair. So I don't know, leave in the comments how you feel about that. Do you think it should be 2-game matches all the way through, or do you not mind? And if I'm putting my 2 cents in there, I don't mind. I think the tournament ran just fine. These tournaments can drag out for a very long time, and I believe with this format, the tournament ended probably maybe 2 hours sooner than it would have otherwise. And from a competitor standpoint, if you're running the tournament if you're bowling in the tournament all the way from start to finish, that 2 hours is very taxing physically and mentally. So PJ with that mishap in the second frame, and otherwise perfect. Same with Lance. I wasn't even really paying. What did Lance leave in the third frame? Do you remember?
No, I missed it.
Well, regardless, PJ, great shot there, putting the pressure squarely back on Lance. And in a 1-game match, if you had to throw an open, putting it in the first or second frame, not the worst spot to do it. Gives you plenty of opportunities to make up for it. bit inside, chipping the 610. Lance kind of smiling, apologizing to PJ. No need to apologize.
Put it in your cap and continue.
Yeah. I say slap the shot off and run it out. Why not? That looks like a better shot. A little high. This time not getting the break, leaving the 6-8. And as we mentioned before in a different video, this is kind of one of the situations, especially in a one-game match, you kind of almost have to go for it, but then you run the risk of getting none of it and costing yourself, you know, on a strike, it's going to cost you 2 pins in the end. But we'll have to see if the match even comes down to being that close. Doesn't seem to like it, but maybe not. It was a good shot. Kind of looked like he stepped off the line like he didn't like it, but who am I to critique PJ? As I mentioned plenty of times before, when PJ sees an opening, usually the next couple shots are going to be right there.
As we're again going through 7, PJ looks like he's been using the, again, Zen Soul, available May 27th. And Lance Lopez throwing, again, some type of orange ball, whether it be a 900 Global Flux Pearl, Orange Vibe, what was the other one? Idle Helios, who knows?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. It's an orange ball to me. But Lance coming a little high again there in the 7th frame, chipping the 4-pin, or sorry, chipping the 6-pin. So coming in a little bit high flush the last 3, chipping the 6-7, or sorry, chipping the 6-10, leaving the 6-8, and then tripping the 6-pin again in the last 3 shots. I expect this to be a little bit wider and getting it maybe a little too wide, chipping a whole bunch of pins. Again, Lance, I love his attitude on the lanes. Just such a happy guy. Smiling about it, laughing about it, apologizing to PJ. But PJ here with a double here can pretty much lock up the game, or lock up the match, barring no disaster in the 10th frame. Getting the first one. And with a strike here, I believe all he's going to need is a decent count and a mark in the 10th. And that's if Lance manages to strike out. With a strike here, yeah, great strike. So if Lance doesn't strike out, it's pretty much going to spell the end of the tournament for Lance, as he can strike out for a 243. PJ already in the high 230s. Big shot here. Much better. Doesn't come in high like he did the last couple on that lane. So big 10th frame here for Lance. He's probably going to need all 3 to have any hope. And making a ball change. Kind of interesting to make a ball change so late in the game. Now, he did come in a little high in the last few. Hard to know what the decision factor was for him, but he knows not striking out pretty much is going to spell the end of his tournament. But he's going to take a 3rd place finish. Congratulations to Lance. Great bowling. Nothing wrong with a podium finish. PJ going to finish out the game. I'm kind of surprised and not surprised at the same time that PJ wouldn't look for a second shot, just because he knows that the finals is going to be on this pair. But as I mentioned before, he is going to get another 2 minutes of practice on this pair, as well as Traco. So maybe then would be his opportunity to look for a new shot if he so decides to do so. And when it rains, it pours, you know. When you can hit anywhere on the head pin and get the strike, good things can happen for you. And great game for PJ, 266. He's going to move on to the finals against Traco Holland. Bit of a rematch for those two as they hold against each other in round 7, where PJ had, you know, 2 pocket 710s that ultimately was his demise. But it's all for naught now. This is the finals. 1 game. Winner of the match is going to win the tournament, and loser of the match will take a 2nd place. And Traco, being the victor in round 7, he got to decide what lane he wanted to finish on, as well as who started the match. So he elected to finish on lane 13 and have PJ start. So Traco is going to finish out his game before PJ. Now, as a competitor, Alex, do you feel like it's an advantage to finish the game first, or an advantage to be the last one in the match, the last frame to be bowled?
For me, that kind of dictates on what you're seeing in practice, what you feel, how you feel, and also as you're practicing, you gotta keep an eye on your opponent. You know, are they striking? Are they struggling? Do they kind of dupe you into thinking, oh, I don't have a look, and all of a sudden, you know, ball change, line change? It just, you know, there's a lot of variables into what would be that deciding factor. So maybe Traco is confident on both lanes. Maybe he saw something in PJ that wasn't doing pretty good, maybe from the previous match. Or again, what was his total thought?
Hard to say that there's anything that you could use an advantage against PJ as he goes the last 10 in the previous match to shoot 266, but you're right. I mean, there could be something. Maybe Traco was paying very close attention to the lines he was throwing, and maybe he just saw that PJ's look on the right lane maybe was a little worse than the left lane, and he wants him to finish on that lane. Or it could just be as simple as Traco had a better look on lane 13 and wanted to finish on that lane. It's PJ leaving the 10 pin there. Covers the spare nicely. He's going to definitely want to strike here as Traco starts out with the first 2. As it being a 1-game match, falling behind early is going to be pretty tough to come back as you don't have that many frames. That looks wide. Yeah, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 8. Not great count on a spare. But important he picks it up. He does. So PJ kind of shaking his head a little bit. I don't think the lanes transitioned that much. I think it was just maybe an errant shot off his hand. But leaving 2 multiple pin spares on that left lane. And Traco here with an opportunity to take an early lead. Okay, lucky the 10 goes down, leaving just the 3 pin. Now, normally I would say in this situation, there's going to be a lot of extra variables to these bowlers as far as, you know, nerves, anxiety, adrenaline, as this is the final, this title match. But both these guys, very competitive and very well versed to be in this situation. I don't think plays as big a factor as it normally would against maybe two I wouldn't say rookie bowlers, but 2 less experienced bowlers maybe. As Traco throws a great shot there, leaving the 9 pin. But there's definitely going to be some element of nerves. I don't care how many tournaments you've won. When you get down to the finals, there's always going to be that little extra factor that you're going to have to manage. And the more you put yourself in that situation, the easier it gets. But it's still a factor that has to be, that's there. PJ throwing a great shot, leaving the 9. So PJ off to a pretty slow start here. Fortunate for him, Traco getting 2 spares himself in the 3rd and 4th frame, so he's not going to lose too much ground. But Traco's not going to give him too many of those, I don't think. So PJ's going to have to kind of buckle down and throw a good shot here. Remember, he missed the head pin right on the last shot on this lane. A little better, still coming in light, but gets the strike, so on the board.
Halfway through the match, watching PJ, similar line to what he's been doing most of the tournament, and also to, I believe this one's still his Zen Soul or Reality, where Traco's totally came out of left field throwing a Rotogrip UC3. The UC3 is 70-30, so I believe it's more reactive than urethane, so it's still going to be a little bit more. It's also asymmetrical. Asymmetrical is just a bigger, flatter oblong weight block, so it's going to create more in the back end as long as the condition's right. This one just kind of baffles me. Is this something, maybe he talked to one of his buddies, maybe his ball drillers in attendance, and they've kind of game planned something? This one just kind of surprises me. I just wonder what the thought process was to go from, say, his Zen that he was using most of the tournament now to this part urethane, part reactive bowling ball.
Yeah, and coming in a little high on that right lane, leaving the 6-10, throwing a great shot there on the 6th frame, getting the strike. So maybe, as we mentioned before, Traco has a better feel for that left lane, as he's thrown 3 good shots in the pocket, unfortunately leaving the 9 pin in the 4th frame, whereas the right lane he's kind of struggling a little bit. So maybe it could be as simple as he chose that lane to finish on because he just felt he had a better look on it. And PJ, important shot there, keeps the match close. Can't really afford any more errant shots at this point, as there's only 4 frames left in the match. Max score, Traco with a 2-pin advantage. And it's always good feeling to have, to know if I strike out, I can't lose, which is probably what Traco's feeling. He still has six strikes to go if he wants to do that. But both these guys are certainly capable of at any point finding the right line and striking out like that. As PJ throws an important shot there, puts the pressure squarely back on Traco, and it's basically frame for frame match play at this point. Halfway through the game, more than halfway through the game, with 2-pin difference, both these players are just going to have to match shot for shot. And great adjustment there. Looks like he just sped it up, threw it a little harder, and it worked out perfect.
The UC3 that Traco is using has been very, very popular amongst tournament bowlers. The UC3, again, for conditions like this, again, whether it's AMF, HPLs, or SPLs, I wasn't there to ask the bowling center or the folk in there what lane surface they have. If it's HPLs, this kind of makes sense. Urethane is going to help control the pocket, as you see right there in that shot from Traco. Urethane is, in a sense, just going to help you create that control, where reactive resin might be a little too much, not enough in a sense, some inconsistency where you can try to control your reaction off the spot. Again, just I'm interested why, again, that decision was made going to the finals.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but as it is, it looks like it's working so far. He's got a 2-pin lead as of now, putting the pressure squarely back on PJ to match his strikes, and almost getting the 4 to fall. But as it is, it's going to extend Trako's lead to 23. And now PJ almost in one of those must-strike situations. Trako's throwing the ball too good, I think, for PJ to not strike here and still have a chance in this match. Good shot there for PJ. So Trako gonna have an opportunity to shut PJ out here. He's gonna finish on his good lane, quote unquote good lane. He's been throwing much better shots on lane 13, leaving just the 9-pin in the 4th frame, but otherwise been perfect. Threw a good shot on lane 14 in his last attempt on this lane. So if he can replicate that, it'll set him up for an opportunity to shut PJ out and win the tournament. Great shot. Under the circumstances, that's a very hard shot to throw, and he made it look easy. And so now, if Trako were to somehow manage to get 7 spare strike, we would have a potential tie. With a strike here, Trako will win the tournament. With 8 or 9 spare and good count on the fill ball, he will also be your tournament winner. So, an important shot here, a strike wins it. Good count spare with good count in the fill ball wins it. Really anything but an open at this point. Okay. And Trako's left the building, everybody. When I watched that live, I thought he was going over the foul line for sure. And manages to stay behind, gets the strike. Needs 7 pins. Really, he just needs 4 pins on the first ball, and that'll be enough. And Trako is going to be your 2022 Greater Sacramento Area Masters champion. And undefeated on this channel. We saw him bowl in the Manteca Masters all 3 rounds. And round 7 and the finals here. So 5 matches we've seen Trako bowl, and he is undefeated on our cameras. So congratulations to him. Great bowling. Showing that his win in Manteca was no fluke. He's got the talent to win just about anywhere. And against the best, too. Doesn't matter who he's bowling against. I don't think he's intimidated by anybody. And posting a shot, taking a victory lap there. Great bowling for Trako, 256. And PJ gave it his best. Off to the slow start at the beginning of this game. Was kind of his undoing, maybe. But as it is, he put up a good fight. He made Trako earn it. And PJ just finishing up there. So congratulations to Trako for his victory here at the 2022 GSA Masters. PJ, congratulations on your 2nd place finish. And I'd like to give a special shout out to Daniel Ducoin. Mike and Sue Norton and Steve Popoff for running a great tournament, and your hospitality was much appreciated. And thank you for letting us record and bring you guys this footage here. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the 2022 GSA Masters. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.